5, we're going to look at factoring ax squared plus bx plus c. But before we start factoring one where the number in front of the x squared is not equal to 1, I want to do some example from last day in a slightly different way. So let's say we had factor x squared minus 3x minus 28. Of course, last day you look for two numbers that add to negative 3 and multiply to negative 28. And the numbers that work, the numbers that multiply to negative 28 but also add to negative 3 would be negative 7 and plus 4. So what we did last day was we did a bracket, x in each bracket, minus 7 in one bracket, plus 4 in the other. Here I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to rewrite the middle term using these numbers. So we got x squared minus 7x plus 4x minus 28. And we're going to group the first two, and we're going to group the last two. And we're going to factor each group, just like we did the other day when we were doing common factoring. So x is common to the first group, and 4 is common to the second group. And as you notice, both brackets are the same, so we have a binomial common factor. So x minus 7 we bring out, and that leaves us with the x plus 4 in the other bracket. This method of factoring is a little bit longer than before. It's called decomposition. We're breaking down the middle term using the numbers that both add to negative 3 and multiply to negative 28. Second example, so example 2. We're going to expand. We're going to expand something that is going to give us some number in front of the x squared when we expand. So 3x minus 1, and let's say 5x plus 2. So when we expand this out, 3x times 5x is 15x squared. 3x times plus 2 is plus 6x. Negative 1 times 5x is minus 5x. And negative 1 times positive 2 is negative 2. And simplifying the middle terms, 6x minus 5x is going to be plus x, 1x minus 2. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to factor it this time, but there's one extra step. We're going to factor this, and we're going to try to get this. One thing we didn't need to worry about up here in the first thing is the a value here is 1, whereas here the a value is 15. Okay, that needs to be part of the process where you decide what numbers work. So if you're given a trinomial like this, we find two numbers that add to the number in front of the x, so add to b. So add to plus 1. But this time we're looking for two numbers that multiply to 15 times negative 2. So they multiply to a times c. This ends up being negative 30. Two numbers that add to 1 and multiply to negative 30 are positive 6 and negative 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to do like we did up here in the first question. We're going to replace the x using these numbers here. So we're going to get 15x squared plus 6x minus 5x minus 2. We're going to insert brackets around the first two and around the last two. However, because of the minus sign in front of this bracket, it will affect all of the signs in the bracket. So this minus 2 needs to switch to a plus 2. So we're going to change this to a plus 2. And we're going to complete the right bracket. Now we're going to common factor each of the groups. And hopefully we're going to end up with what we started with, which was the factored version of this trinomial. So what's common to the first group? For 15 and 6, 3, x is common. And that leaves you with 5x plus 2. Now, there's nothing other than 1 that's common for 5x plus 2, so let's bring a 1 out and put 5x plus 2. So now you should notice that we have a binomial, which is common. So we'll bring that out in front. So that's 5x plus 2. And that leaves us with 3x minus 1 to go in the other bracket. And of course, this is what we started with up here. So as you can see, that factoring method works. So in example 3, we're not going to start with the brackets. We're just going to factor. Let's say we've got 5x squared minus 8x minus 4. So what we're looking for here is we're looking for two numbers that add to the middle number, negative 8, and multiply to 5 times negative 4, which of course is negative 20. Two numbers that add to negative 8 and multiply to negative 20 are negative 10 and plus 2. We're going to replace the negative 8x using these numbers. So it's 5x squared minus 10x plus 2x minus 4. Once again, we're going to group the first two. And we're going to group the last two. And we're going to common factor each group. So 5x is going to be common here, leaving you with x minus 2. And what's common here is 2. And then that leaves you with x minus 2. X minus 2 is common. So we're going to bring it out in front. So x minus 2 and 5x plus 2. If we want to do a check, we just expand. So the check, x minus 2, 5x plus 2. Remember, our goal is to end up with the original trinomial. So 5x squared, x times 2 is plus 2x. Negative 2 times 5x is minus 10x. And negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4. Collecting like terms, we get minus 8x in the center, minus 4, which is what we started with. So it is correct.